Where Are the Children? An extract from the anthology Shades of the Unknown by John Wing. Michael Samuel Stone gazed at the mysterious swirling green mist. He wasn't surprised at what he saw. In fact, nothing surprised him anymore. Not with the things he had witnessed working for the Special Task Unit that investigated unusual or unexplained phenomena. His last case had occurred in a small village in Dorset, and he thought nothing would beat that for weirdness. But he had a feeling this was going to be even more bizarre. He was geared up in a level A white hazmat suit with a full face-piece self-contained breathing apparatus, including a two-way radio inside the garment, incorporating voice-operated microphones and an earpiece speaker to enable him to converse with his wife. As he sat in the doorway of the helicopter that now lingered over the fog, Michael tested the two-way radio. "Can you hear me loud and clear?" Rachel answered, Yes, I can." "Good. If you don't hear anything from me after 30 minutes, then lift me back up." "Will do. Then I'll start my descent." Rachel arched her neck to see her husband being winched slowly down into the green abyss. Soon he vanished from sight, smothered by the mysterious opaque vapour. All she could hear was his heavy breathing and the whirling of the helicopter's rotors. He was cocooned in the mist. The lower he got, the thicker it became. He hoped he'd be able to make out some shapes, like a house, a tree or a car. But no, nothing was distinguishable. But that wasn't the worst of it. It was the deathly silence. He felt he'd lost his hearing. Then his heart missed a beat as his wife's voice shattered the silence. "Are you all right?" "Yes, I'm fine. But I can't see a damn thing." His feet touched solid ground. But I can't hit you prop." Her voice had gone. For some reason, communication had broken down. Resigned to the fact that he was completely alone, Michael cautiously moved forward, one step at a time, his right arm extended, feeling his way, like a blind man without a cane. He bumped into something. It was the rear of a car. He shuffled to the left side and felt for the door handle. It opened. The vehicle quickly filled up with the green haze. There was no one inside. Leaving the door ajar, he awkwardly made it to the pavement and soon realised he was outside a building. As soon as he entered, a bell tinkled, announcing his presence. He was in a small convenience store. He closed the door as much as he was able, reducing the mist's attempt at entry, though not entirely, as the cable winch from the helicopter was still around his waist, but it was nowhere as thick as it was outside. At least he could distinguish things more clearly in here. He could make out the shelves stocked with tins, packets and bottles. He turned to his left and saw the shop counter. A man's body was prostrated over it. No doubt the proprietor, assumed Michael. Lying face down in front of the counter was an elderly woman. Michael stooped over her and placed his fingers on the side of her neck. She had a pulse. She was alive, as too was the man. He gently shook them and spoke words of, "Can you hear me?" But they failed to respond. Michael guessed that the perpetual mist was responsible for their catalepsy. He exited the shop and continued to advance gingerly down the street until he came to a cottage whose door was wide open. He peered inside. Although not as prevalent as outside, the fog lurked in every nook and cranny of the home. He came to a gate adjacent to the house. He pushed it forward and walked along a small concrete slab path which led into the garden. He still couldn't discern a thing. And still the silence was daunting. No birds chirping, no dogs barking, no voices talking or shouting. It was an unfamiliar world, and Michael was in the middle of it. It was very disconcerting. He decided to try talking to his wife again. "Rachel, can you hear me?" No reply. "Rachel, are you there?" Nothing. The two-way radio was not transmitting. He had hoped to hear her voice. It would have given him some comfort in this desolate world of green corruption. Without warning, he fell to the ground. It took the wind out of him. The surprise of the fall disorientated him for a few moments. He then realised he had stumbled over a body. He felt for the person's pulse. He or she was alive, and like the others he had come across, the person was unconscious. He awkwardly regained his feet. He complained, "I can't see a fucking thing." No matter which way he turned, he was pressed in by the accursed fog. He was its prisoner, and the longer he stayed within its grasp, the more uncomfortable he became. As he stared at its shifting, churning movements, he caught sight of something, or at least he thought he did. He couldn't tell for sure. To be honest, he assumed the mist was playing tricks on him. But as he continued to stare into the green nothing, he was convinced of movement of some kind. A shape of some sort. No, shapes. There was more than one. They looked human in form, but tall, say 7 feet or taller maybe. Although Michael was unnerved by what he assumed he saw, he clumsily ambled towards them. The shapes also approached him. There were 3 of them. As they got nearer, Michael could make out more detail. They were tall, at least 8 feet, and also thin, but he was certain he could make out legs and arms. Each shape had 4 wiry arms, as long as their legs. As they came closer, almost within touching distance, he beheld their most distinguishing features, their rhombus-shaped eyes. They glowed like sparkling diamonds, blindingly bright. Michael had to shield his own eyes from their intensity with his right hand, squinting through the gaps between his fingers. Then the middle figure reached out its wavering arms. He felt the lightest of touch on his shoulders through his hazmat suit. As if in slow motion, he crumpled to the ground. As he gazed up, he saw one of the shapes stoop down upon him, and the last thing engraved upon his mind were those mesmerizing, incandescent diamond eyes burning into his very being. After that, he was aware of nothing. If you're intrigued how this story continues, it is available to download or purchase as a paperback from Amazon in my anthology, Shades of the Unknown.